Hello and welcome to number 46 of the Inventive Marketing Club. We're here every Friday to help us all build a better marketing strategy. How are you doing, Claire?
I'm good, thanks, Ben. How are you?
A bit chilly. I just had to get a jumper on. It's 3 degrees and I'm up in the attic, so I'm feeling it this morning.
Oh, no.
Right. So this morning, what we're going to be talking about is a blogging and content strategy. Now, this is a rerun of one we did quite some time ago, probably 2.5 years ago now. But I thought I'd bring it up to date, put our new colors on there, new logo, and there's a few extra changes as well. So it's certainly different and worth watching. Let's bring it up. So first of all, what is a blog? Well, a blog can mean many different things, but generally speaking, for a business at least, it's a page on your website that's updated regularly. So it can have something like your company news. At the very basic, it could be who's coming into the company, what new employees, what you're doing, have you been on any team outings, are you doing any charity events? It can just be about the company. And that's how businesses used to start off using their news page. But it could also be for helpful information. And that's the way I tend to think of a blog or news pages. It's about helpful information for your customers. You could even look at it if you're a bit more of an informal company, or maybe you're happy to expose what's going on in the company. It can be a business diary. It can be sort of the highs and the lows of what's going on in your business. It's really up to you. There are many different things for what they are, but generally it's a sequential feed of articles that you publish. So what is it for? It's an insight into your business. It's a passive help desk. And that's what I think they can be really useful for. You know, any questions and answers, any questions you're getting from customers a lot can be written up as articles and put onto your blog as a knowledge base, as an FAQ, as this passive help desk, so that people can help themselves. Your customers can go and find that information from yourself. But if you're talking to them on the phone or email, then you can refer them to those articles too. It can give you credibility and influence to some degree that you actually know what you're talking about, because you are demonstrating it by writing a blog, by producing content that can be shared on social media. You can even use it for longer social posts. I often see a lot of people who have a great social media presence, but don't really know what to do on their blog. And I'm like, God, you're doing everything on social media, which is fab. Why not do it on your blog first? Write a longer version and then put extracts of those out on social media to tease and tempt people to come to your website, because then you're moving them from someone else's platform to yours. So a lot of people think that the social media and blog posts are distinct things. That they're not, or they can be, but generally speaking, they're not. I see as social media is where you are communicating and sharing with people in their platform of choice, where they are. And your blog is just that same thing, but on your platform. A blog is also for search optimization. So it's a way that you can get people to your website when they're typing in a key phrase on Google or Bing. So why should you write one? Well, for me, the reason I encourage people to write a blog or some kind of news article feed is that they're going to get more leads. That's the objective, is we're going to help bring people closer to our company to understand more about our company, our product, and our way of working, so we get more leads. It helps educate our customers. And I've always found that educated customers are better customers. They're easier customers to work with. They understand the way you work, the way your business works, the way your product works. They look forward to updates in your products. So the more you can educate your customers, the better. Blogs also allow you to improve your search optimization and improve the linking structure and the importance of certain pages in your website. I don't know if you would have caught one of the last shows that we did, but it was reviewing our new website before it went live. And we had one of our colleagues, Chris, on to give us some SEO advice. And one of the key things Chris always talks about is to create this hub content, create your core content where you want people to land on. So they're your pages. And then you create your spoke content around that, which is where you're answering questions, where you're helping people, where you're touching on these sort of longer keywords. They're your blog articles. So they can be really useful to improve your search optimization. And as already mentioned before, it's great for passive support. Writing up articles and questions that customers ask you, put that on your blog. Don't just leave it siloed. Don't leave it in a knowledge base that's for internal use only. Write it up, put it out there, because not only is it going to be useful for existing customers, you may well find it starts drawing in new ones. But who's going to read it? Well, you know, a lot of the time, I don't think people will go to a company's site and read their blog. That just doesn't generally happen anymore. People are on social media. That's where they'll read it. Maybe they've signed up to your RSS feed and they'll read it there. They'll possibly also read it on a newsletter, an email newsletter, if you can get that through to them. But people are going to, if it's interesting enough, come from that social media post, come from that email newsletter that you've sent through, and they will come and link back through to that blog article. So what we want to do is we want to think about who we're writing for. And I often like to think, well, who is your best customer? I always think of Alex Kopop from Communion Architects. He's my typical best customer. Although I was challenged by another customer the other day and saying, why aren't I your best customer? They're all my best customers, but I've got to focus on one. So when I'm producing content, I think about Alex and what Alex might like. So think of your best customers and try and address their key needs. What is it that they would like to hear from you? And when you're doing that, thinking about the different stages of buying from you that they might be at. Do they know about you yet? If they don't, then you've got to think about what can you do to attract their attention? What problems can you write about and put out there for them to find on social media, for them to find in Google search? And then also think about the consideration stage as well. So think about once they do know you and they're thinking about buying your product or service, think about what you can write to deepen their knowledge of how you can help them. Probably maybe put some comparison information in there. Think about the questions they ask. It's really important to not only think about who you're writing about, but what stage they're getting to know you. Do they know you already? Or are they starting to get to know you and they've got to find you first? Now, I'm not going to dive too far into the customer, understanding your customer, because I've written about it and we've done a lot of articles on it already. So I suggest you go to number 33 of our Inventive Marketing Club webinar, how to build the perfect e-commerce sales funnel. And don't be put off by the fact it says e-commerce in there or sales funnel. I think this is a really good webinar that talks through the process of finding out how you're going to engage with customers and move them closer to you so they eventually buy from you. So that's a really good one. That's number 33 of our Inventive Club webinar. So once you've understood who your audience is and who you're writing for, it's then time to think about the blog style. What style is it going to look like? And that's style visually, but it's also style in writing. Is it going to be informal? Is it going to be professional? Is it going to be overly formal? It really depends on who your audience are. So I'm going to go through a few of my favorites here just to show you some different examples. This is Daring Fireball. I've been reading Daring Fireball for a long time now, probably about 10 years. I tend to read Daring Fireball through an RSS reader. So I use Feedly as an app on my iPhone, and I've got an RSS feed from his website, and I read all of the articles on there. The benefit to Daring Fireball is that he has adverts in his RSS feed. So that's how he earns money. That's his product, really. He does the writing, he's a publication, and he earns money through his articles. But if you actually do go to the website, which I will do occasionally if there's some images or video that I want to watch, then he's got little adverts on the side. But one thing that's very typical of Daring Fireball, and I think he's quite stubborn about it at the moment, is his website design has not changed since I've been reading it. But I think it certainly hasn't been optimized for mobile. It's got exactly the same design since for the last 10 years, probably 15 years. But I like it because it's very simple. It's a conventional blog approach. You've got the latest article first. and then the next article under that, and the next article under that. Each article is a full article. So if it's a very long article, you'd have to scroll all the way past that very long article to get to the next one. And the reason for that is it's all about content. He expects people who come to the blog to read the blog. That's why they are there. And they want to read the very latest thing, and they want to read back until they've come to the last blog article that they were reading maybe on the previous day. And it's all about reading the content. It doesn't want people to click into each article, read it, and come back out again. It's a very linear approach. And I quite like that. And actually, we echo that a little bit on our blog. I like the fact that most people can read our blog and skim through some of the shorter articles in full without having to dive into them. So that's a very conventional approach. Something very similar to this is on this blog called Loud and Clear. And they just go a little bit further on the design. So it's still conventional. You've still got articles in latest first order, but you've got a little bit of color at the top. It's a little bit more branded. You've got some different tags and categories on the right-hand sidebar, just peeping in there. It's still quite straightforward though. Here's a new site. This is from Security Group, actually part of Eclipse or connected to Eclipse. And this is taking still a simple design, but just breaking it up a little bit. And we've got 3 columns here. We've got each blog article is in the 2-column panel on the left-hand side with a little extract. It's got the title, it's got the date it was published, and a little extract just to get people interested. And the idea behind this is that people aren't coming to the blog to read every single article. They're coming for specific articles that interest them. So maybe I would assume that most people coming to the Security Group blog would have come in from social media or an email, or someone has linked them there. Maybe one of the employees has sent a link to something useful for a particular client. But if people do come across news, then this format allows them to skim through and find articles that might be interesting to them. Maybe they're attracted by the image, or they see certain keywords in the titles. So that's why we've also put in the 3rd panel on the right, we've got a get latest news. So if people are interested in keeping up to date with Security Group, but don't want to have to keep coming back to the blog because maybe it's not something they're going to do on a daily basis, then they can just put their name and email in there and they will get subscribed to the newsletter. So this one's from Catherine Avery, one of our friends here at the Inventive Marketing Club. In fact, Catherine is on next week talking to us about copywriting and her process. So that'll be good to catch up with Catherine then. But her blog is, well, as you can imagine, as a writer, she produces a lot of content on her blog, which is very good. I've often linked to it on ours because she's got some good things to say. But because she's got so many articles, she actually has an interesting method of grouping up select articles. So when you go to the blog page, you aren't just presented with all the blog articles. You get a highlight of key blog articles that people might like to read. And she split them up into different areas like copywriting tips, customer case studies. And there's 2 more underneath. I can't remember what they are, but she split them into these 4 different areas and then highlighted, I think it's 5 different articles for each of those groups. And the reason behind that is you can click on blog and just get a flavor of the content. You can get instant advice that from key articles that Catherine has written. Underneath, however, there is a latest articles as well, so you can dive into what she's written latest. But I think the intent here is that this is going to be new customers coming along, getting to know Catherine, and these are the key things she wants them to see. Here's Communion. So we've already mentioned Alex. Here's the latest version of his blog. It has changed a little bit since the last time. Alex's blog, very similar to Catherine's. In fact, Catherine actually writes for Alex, so she provides a lot of the content for the blogs, although a lot of the ideas actually come from Alex, but Catherine then produces the copy. So with Alex's, again, a lot of articles on here, and his blog articles do very well. In fact, some of his blog articles actually get more traffic than his main landing page, and that's great. That's what you want. If you've got some great articles, you want them to be highlighted. One of those in this particular site is how to get planning permission for barn conversion. That's one of his top posts. So what Alex has done here, along with Catherine and me, we decided which articles should go at the top based on the articles we want people to read, the articles we know actually help bring people closer to communion and understanding the process and also their needs. So we've got the most popular articles that appear at the top. And then what people can do is niche down on a certain category. So we've got different categories here: houses, barns, churches, planning, cost, and design. So we've got key things that people might be interested in. If they've got a home extension they're planning, they can click on houses and they're going to get articles that are then in the houses category and more specific to them. If they're doing a church reordering, maybe they're putting a community center in as part of the church, then they would click on churches and they're going to get those sort of articles. So I like this approach because we've got the main articles that most people are interested in. I mean, they truly are the popular articles, even though we've picked them. And then we've got categories if people want to narrow down their focus a little bit. So I like that approach. There is, if you scroll down the bottom and further down the list, you do find the latest articles as well. But again, like a lot of other company blogs, I don't intend people to come to the news page and just get the latest news. They're just interested in key articles that are relevant to them. Then we've got this blog from the Falcon House. Now this is a fun site altogether. But the blog articles are based on more pictorial images, really. They're very short articles. They're just usually a couple of lines or two, and it's mainly focused on the image. Now, this all came about because in the Falcon House, which is a B&B over near Hereford, they have a lot of images and postcards sent in by previous guests there with little notes saying, thank you, we enjoyed our stay. Often people are touring through, and as they sort of get to the next stop, they'll send a postcard of to say thank you, which is really nice. I mean, to have your audience and your customers actually sharing with you nice things like that is great. And so they put those up on the wall for other people to see when they come there. And we loved it so much, we wondered if we could actually get scans of some of those to go up onto the website. So if you explore the Falcon House website, and especially in the testimonials section, you can see actual postcards from people that are sent in, scanned and put on the site. But that design actually got Al, who developed this, our web developer at the time, to think about, well, how can we use images to look as if they are on a wall, but adapt it to allow the customer to choose their own frames? So that's exactly what they can do here. For each blog post, the blogs will appear as if they are on a wooden wall, which replicates what it's like at the Falcon House, but they can actually pick the frame they want to be on that image, which is incredibly complex to do, but Al did a very good job. And the nice thing about this is completely unique. It's quite different. It allows them to showcase what is great about the Falcon House and one of their hobbies, which is looking after animals, particularly owls. They're often getting a lot of owls there. And so it's lovely to see when they do have new arrivals, they can post them on their blog because people love to see them. It's a reason, it's a unique proposition, a unique reason to actually come to the Falcon House. So this is quite a nice approach for a blog. They were actually quite worried about writing a blog because they didn't know if they could write a lot of text. So we adapted the blog so it didn't feel like it needed a lot of text and they could get away with very short articles. And here's our new blog. This site is actually live now, yay, after quite some time. I know Claire will be happy because we've got lots we need to do moving forward. With this approach, we've got a couple of different approaches, which I've put forward here. So when we click on the articles page, we get our key cornerstone articles. So we get the marketing strategy, which is something I want people to see, how to win more customers and getting 5-star reviews. We've actually got another one that we're going to put on there about WordPress website administration at some point. But they're the main articles I want people to see. When they need help, they're the ones I want them to go to. Beneath that, if they're really interested in getting to know us a bit better, then we've broken up all of our blogs by topic. So we've got SEO, email marketing, social media, and so on, website development. And they can click on those, they're little buttons, they can click on them, and that will then take them to a filtered list where it only shows articles in that category. And we actually use that mechanism as part of our club. So club members, you'll be finding out about this soon. Club members will be able to go into the marketing club and then use that filter to not only see webinars like this and filter them down, but any articles we've written about that particular subject area to really group stuff together. If you were to go beyond the categories, then we've got the latest articles, just in case people are wanting to keep up to date and see how current we are with the marketing and the world we live in. So let's move on to content planning. So we understand, or we know that it's necessary to really understand the audience. We've got an idea of maybe what our blog could look like or how it should work. And now we're thinking about content planning and how we're actually going to write all this copy. So the first thing to do, and this really links back in with preparing the blog for search engine optimization, is if we have, or we should have on our website, key pages that we want to attract people to. These are the pages we might use in advertising. They might be the pages we send to learn more about products. There are landing pages. That's where we want people to end up. Hopefully we've got those. And what we then need to do is add on spoke content that then helps promote and gets traffic to those hub pages. So these are the articles that we'll be writing. So I've now put up a slide where each article, I've given some examples like, and my general example here is for a book, an accounting firm, and we want to promote the bookkeeping page as one of their services. So maybe they might write articles, are bookkeeping and accounting the same? What bookkeeping software should I use? Or, and this could be a cornerstone article, an article we want a lot of people to go to. It's one where we drive traffic, and maybe we're even willing to pay for advertising or uplifted posts to get people there. But how to do bookkeeping, the ultimate guide. And that's where we really take our time over writing a great article there. So initially what you want to do is think about creating these content columns, if you like. So you've got your main landing page you want to drive people to, and then thinking about all the different articles that will drive people to that. If you think back to our website, that's kind of what we've got. We've got our main core topics, SEO, social media, website, and so on. And then we write articles and fit them into those categories. And then within those articles, we can then drive traffic by linking through to the main pages that we want to promote. So writing content can be quite difficult because it feels like, oh, I can either write about everything, or what do I write about? Let's split it up into 3 different types of content, because it's actually going to help you break that up a little bit. And they are helpful, topical, and product-related content. So an example of helpful content would be, what bookkeeping software should I use? It's something actually people might search online in Google for. It might be that you have a customer who is already coming to you for tax advice, for example, and they're asking about, well, what bookkeeping software should I use in a session that you have with them? Well, you can actually refer them to that blog post for further information that gives a sort of detailed breakdown and comparison between different software, or maybe the recommended one that you would use. And then you've got topical content. So an example of this is, what does auto-enrollment mean for me? Well, auto-enrollment is to do with pensions and making sure that every new employee is auto-enrolled into a pension scheme that you run. That used to be a big thing. That may not be an issue now, but I'd imagine that could still be, it was certainly topical at the time. I'm not an accountant, so I don't know what's topical at the moment, but when I was producing that was what came up. But topical just means it's something that people are having a problem with right now. It's current. And so we want to write about that. The benefit of writing about that is that we might get more reach because we can jump on current hashtags. And if people are sort of eager for that knowledge, you might get more people to read it if you're ahead of the game. And then the other final column is product content. So this is all stuff to do with how your own service works, maybe more internal stuff like why to use an accountant, the benefits of cloud accounting using the online accounts package 0. There's lots of different articles, but they tend to be more about you, as in your company, and less about the customer. The first 2 sections, helpful and topical content, are much more about your customer. And I'd advocate writing much more about your customer's needs and helping your customer more than talking about you. But you do need that balance. But once you've got this split of helpful, topical, and product content, it might make it a little bit easier to write, because you can pre-plan a lot of the helpful content. You can come up with a lot of ideas. You can listen to customers. You can write down their questions that they ask you, and then you can schedule a lot of this content. Topical content, that does mean you've kind of got to have an ear out and make sure you're writing this content or producing this content if it's a video on a regular basis, listening out for and jumping on particular things that people are having issues with or what's going on in the world right now. And then product content, that's where you're looking at gaps in people's knowledge about what you do and trying to fill those. So here are some topic ideas that might help. You could obviously give hints and tips. They're usually really useful. Questions you get asked a lot. It's always worth keeping a note of the questions customers ask you. I try my best. I'm still not perfect at it, but there's so many questions I get bombarded with, and I answer them often straight away. But it's worth trying to take a note so that maybe you could write a blog post about that or create a video. In fact, one of the reasons we started this whole club is as a reason to generate content, because I find it writing hard. So by creating the club, we capture those questions from customers. We can create presentations and produce content that ultimately ends up as part of our blog. You could write about insider secrets. I mean, one thing I love doing as part of this blog is maybe bringing in some of the insider information as well. Often people join us before we start recording, and we have a bit more of an informal chat, or they see what's going on. They see how the cookie is made, how we work, which can be quite interesting for people. Things you wish your clients knew. I always find it worth educating clients. So the more you can teach them about how you work, the better. Customer interviews and testimonials. That's something we use our blog for a lot, is whenever we have a testimonial, we'll put that up, especially if it's a video, on our blog so that people can see that straight away. Claire can share it on social media, and then it's used there as a reference. And also benefits your product. I mean, a blog can be used to talk about yourself and talk about why you've made certain decisions. You just don't want to do that too much. A useful tool, and I keep mentioning this all the time, but for those of you who haven't heard of it before, answerthepublic.com. It's a really useful place to get content ideas, particularly in the helpful column. You can type in a word. For example, here we've got bookkeeping, and it gives you loads of who, what, where, when, why questions that people ask about that particular area. Something I haven't mentioned here, but I know Chris brought up on one of our last webinars, was a particular regular expression code that you can put into Google Search Console, which is going to show you questions that people have asked on Google and where your website has come up. You can then see if anyone has clicked through, and if they haven't, it means you're underserving that question, and you perhaps should write some content that answers that and put it onto your blog. I'm hopefully creating a tool that will help people do this as well, and we might share that in the coming months. And finally, once you've got an idea about what you're going to write, you've put them down, you put them in your various content silos. It's worth having a think. Is this relevant to the company? Hopefully it is. Are you adding value? Is there something out there already that already covers this area? Because if there is, maybe we can just link to that if we're truly serving our customers. Maybe we can take extracts from another post. Maybe we can pull together some various posts that cover a similar topic and bring them into yours, quote them. There's nothing wrong with doing that. It can be a great way of bringing content into your website, as long as you're citing and quoting the reference where it comes from. In fact, a lot of the blog posts that we publish are looking at existing blog posts that we found that are relevant. They tend to be quite topical, and when we will have our own comment to that, but we'll link back through to that original post. It's a really good way to have lots of fresh content on your site. And if you think back to Daring Fireball that I mentioned earlier, that is one of the key ways that he generates content, is he extensively reads in and around technology, Apple, and things related to that. And all articles that he finds interesting, that he wants to share with his readers, he will quote them. He will take various extracts and then put his opinion on there and link through to it. It's, I think, something he developed, that particular technique, and a lot of people have followed it, including us. So are you adding value to something? Do people desire to see it? If you're not particularly excited about it, then maybe your customers won't be either. And will they share it? Is what you're making shareable? Is it interesting enough to share? And if it is, make sure it's on the platform so they can share it. So make sure once you publish an article, It's in some place like LinkedIn, Facebook, where they can actually share that onward. So I'm not going to talk a huge amount about SEO. We've got lots of other great webinars on that, which I'll mention in a minute. But something that's worth thinking about is when you're writing an article is to make sure you have the keywords relevant to what people are looking for in there. And when you do, make sure they're in the title, in the heading, and in the copy, the main copy of your article. Use keyword variations, so just slightly different ways of saying the same word, or related words that are in that same topic. And in fact, a good tool, which I'm picturing here, is called Text Optimizer. And it is a paid tool, but they've got a free version as well. So you can go there and right from the front page of Text Optimizer, I think it's text-optimizer.com, but you'll find it just by typing in Text Optimizer. Right on the front page, if you paste in the blog post, once you've written it and it's public, that you want to get additional words for, it will then analyze the content, give you a score. And actually, this score is from one of our clients, a hot tub company. And then it's going to give you additional words that you could include in your text. And what that does is it helps give your website more topical relevance, or your page topical relevance. It makes sure your blog isn't too siloed in what it's talking about if you're trying to optimize. And it makes sure you're touching on other points that people recognize to be part of that area. It's a really good tool. The other key thing about Text Optimizer is it gives you 3 different sections, which you can see on the right-hand side. And it actually, those 3 sections sort of call out what it thinks your blog post is about. And so here I can see it says hot tub maintenance. That's great because this article is about hot tub maintenance. So the very first sort of key section saying hot tub maintenance makes me, reassures me that we've done a good thing there in the article. So it's always good to find out how search engines might perceive that. And that's a great tool for this. Also, make sure you link through to relevant pages. So if you've got other articles that are related to that area, make sure you link through to them, and make sure you link through to that landing page, that hub page as well, one where we're trying to drive traffic to. Do include images, video, lists, tables. Make sure you've got varied content on there, particularly if you want it to rank well. So a couple of webinars on SEO. The first one I'd recommend you go and listen to or watch is number 6, and that's on SEO strategy. So it's a bit of a broad look at search engine optimization. And the other one, which is quite recent, it's number 43, and it's search engine optimization with Yoast. Now, Yoast is a plugin we use for WordPress. Many people, in fact, use for WordPress, and it allows you to not only get advice on SEO for that particular page or article you're optimizing, but also allows you to edit and amend the title, which is very difficult to do otherwise in WordPress. We don't have anything covering Squarespace or other places like that, but I think if you watch those 2, it's going to give you a lot of helpful advice, which you can apply to other website building platforms too. And to round off what we're talking about here, some writing tips. The first one is to allocate time. If you don't allocate time, you'll never get around to doing it because it'll always be last on your list. It'll be email first, customers, work, and then, oh, I've got to write a blog article. I've got to do my marketing. So what I suggest is you create some regular time in your diary. Whenever that works for you, could be a Friday morning, afternoon, during the week. I would suggest, if it works for you, do it earlier on. Do it actually before you get into your main work, because the problem is you get into your main work. If you set an event at 5 o'clock, you're going to get to 5 o'clock, and then at the end of the day, and you'll think, oh, I need to finish off some work, or I need to do this, that, or the other. I think it's much better to set the event early in the day, especially if you're going to find it awkward and difficult to begin with, because then it's over and done with. Nothing else is going to interfere with it, and it's done. You can move on. Try and find a place that is quiet, remove distractions. So you don't want to be in the kitchen. Maybe there's things that you see that you need to do, or there's food there that's going to distract you. Better to take yourself away, maybe even go to a different place, a co-working space, or even a coffee shop can work quite well. I know there's food there, but you have to pay for it. So it's a little barrier to actually grabbing it. Make a routine, do it on a regular basis. Start small, don't push yourself to do too much work. Now, for us, I don't do a lot of writing. I write quotes and do what we said before, where we will find interesting articles and take a quote from it and write a little example. Claire does that too. But we do a lot of video work, and that's our blogging. And the only way of doing that is by having a regular routine. With the club sessions, we started off monthly, but it was always the same time and same period in the month. Now we're doing it weekly. It's always a Friday. It's always 10 a.m. I know what I need to prepare for. I know what time I've got to prepare for, and I always have to deliver it, whether I like it or not. Most of the time, I love it. Finding motivation, moving on to this. If you're writing for the right audience, then that's going to make it a lot easier for you. If you're thinking about Alex, in my case, I might think, well, what does Alex want to know about? And it's going to make it easier for me to find motivation. I always find if you stuck for writing a big blog article, in fact, if you think, oh gosh, I've got to write 1,000 words on this particular subject, oh, boring, I'm not going to be able to do that. If you just start with the snippet first, and the snippet is what people might see in when they're searching for your, they're searching for something and you come up in search results, they're going to see that little snippet first. Or it could be a little extract of text that you post through on social media. And it's just a title and a short description. That's all you want to focus on. If you can get that title right, that's going to set the scene for the description. And the description is going to be a very short summary, an overview that's going to have a beginning, middle, and an end. It's going to tease people about what's in it, maybe a little conclusion in there. You haven't got many words. You've only got about 160 characters in the description, so you can't overwrite. Start with those first, because once you've got the title and description, you know what you're promising the reader when they see it in social media or search results. And when they click through, all you need to do is take some of the ideas you've got in that title and description and write down bullet point headings. And then under those headings, just fill in the gaps. And it might be that you can't do that all in one session. It could be that you just do the outline first. That's all you focus on. Write the outline. Then when you come back to your next session for writing, you then fill in the headings underneath. You sort of start writing out the copy. If you do it in pieces like that, you will get better at doing it. Something else that will really help and give you motivation is to read around the subject. So if you don't know fully about a particular area, or you're not confident, just read a lot about it. Go and read other people's blog posts, watch videos, listen to podcasts or audiobooks. Because if you read a lot, you will start to know more about that particular area. You'll feel more confident about that area. You'll have lots of ideas, and then you'll find it a lot easier to write or start some of that information coming back out again. You can even use other people's copy as a starting point. So maybe you can take someone's article and say, well, I like these bits. I'm going to copy those over and use those as a starting point, but I'm going to write them in my own words. You've got to be careful you don't plagiarize it. You don't copy their work, because it's copywritten, and also that you're just not adding value at that point. You may as well just link straight through to their article. But it can be really helpful to read an article you think is great and then rewrite that, remembering what you wrote, what you read. The other way you can do them, which is the way I prefer to do them, is you record your ideas, ideally in video, because then you can just put them out on YouTube or whatever streaming platform you choose. Or you can just record them to voice memos on your phone and then get those transcribed or transcribe them yourself. We're currently playing with a bit of transcription software called Descript, which allows you to put in an audio file or a video, and it transcribes all that text. In fact, Claire, I had a look at the transcription you did of our last one the other day. It's pretty good, although I noticed I say a lot, and you can see that very clearly in the text. So having a way of just recording your ideas, however you want to do that, and then transcribing them can work really well. And then finally, ask for action. At the end of a blog article, particularly if it's an important one, ask the reader to do something. What do you want them to do? Do you want them to sign up to your newsletter, find out more, buy a product? Sometimes in a sort of key cornerstone article, you might actually have multiple call to actions in there, depending on what you're trying to do. I know on the Eclipse site and the security group site, we've got their sign up on the right-hand side to their email newsletter. So that is always part of the blog when they click through to that item. Right, just finally on here, just some ideas on including imagery and video. I'm not going to go into too much depth on it, but having images and video does increase the amount of page views. It's also going to keep people longer, particularly video will keep people longer on the page, which is always beneficial. Having the right images on the page can help break up the content. It helps people scan through to make sure it's what they want to read, or maybe to pick out a particular section. It also makes it more visible in social feeds. Certainly with WordPress, if you have a featured image on your blog post, that featured image is going to get pulled up and turned into a little image as part of the post you put in. Usually on LinkedIn and Facebook, it'll automatically pull through some of that content. So it makes it a bit more visible. So do think about the key image that you use. And people are much more likely to read it if it's got the relevant images in there. So here are some examples of places you can get images from: Pexels or Pixabay. They're two places where you can get free images that you can use commercially. It's mixed as to what you're going to get. If you want to dive into a particularly niche area to find images, you're going to find it a struggle on these two because they're all given away freely. So you might want to try places like iStock Photo or Shutterstock. But if you want free images, this is a good place to go. Do not just go to Google and go to Google Images and type in your keyword search and pick images from there. There's a high chance that you're going to find a Shutterstock image or a copy protection image, and you're going to get some company like PicRights after you demanding a fee. So do yourself a favor, or do your future self a favor, and just get free images that are commercially, that you can use commercially. Another place for good images, it's a bit more tricky to explain, and you've got to check it out. But if you go on to Flickr, you can go in and use their license filter to select commercial use. And you can actually have commercial use and commercial use that can be modified as well. And you'll find all the images that are okay for that. If you like a particular image and you can contact the original copyright holder, do that as well. You might be able to reach an agreement for a fee. Just on the next page, this is an example how you might actually check the license on certainly Pixels or I get them mixed up. It's Pexels or Pixabay. They have a section on there which shows what the license is. And in this case, you can see this dog image is free for commercial use. If you want to protect yourself, screenshot that, showing the date and time on your computer, or put a link back. We often in the description in the media library for WordPress, I would often put a link back to where I got the image from, so we know exactly where it's from, so it's not too much of an issue. But sometimes it can be best to actually take a screenshot so you can prove that down the line. Oh, another place I didn't mention is Elements by Envato. You can have a very small subscription you pay for. I think it's about $150 over the year, which is not bad. And you can download as many images as you like. All you need to do is just assign them to you when you download them as for a particular project. And then you're licensed to use them however you want. It works really well. Another thing that's worth adding are GIFs. In fact, we've got a whole article about it. If you head over to our website, you can look for the Power of GIFs article. And I find them quite fun. The right ones are quite fun. They can be really engaging, expressive. I typed a search here in giphy.com, silly goose, and you get lots of different articles here. Very useful on social media as well, as a fun way to react to what someone has said. I probably don't use them enough in that context, but they're incredibly fun, choosing the right ones, and they can bring a smile to someone's face. Another good tool, which I've got a couple of clients who use this a lot. In fact, they've bought the pro versions of it, but you can use it for free, is canva.com. And it's an online, it's kind of an image creation tool, but what is nice about it is it allows you to have lots of templates. So you can just pick a template that's loosely what you want and then customize it. So it actually is a great way to create things like infographics, as an example pictured here, creating better blog content, which I quickly whipped up as an example, although I don't like the colors for that one. I would choose different colors. Or you can pick ones that maybe just a quick headline image banner that you can use for social media, that can go on your featured image in your WordPress blog, that is just a background image which relates to your article with some text over the top. So Canva's a really good tool for image production. Personally, I use Pixelmator on my Mac. It's a lot more complex, but it works really well. It's a bit more like Photoshop, but it allows you to do a lot more. But Canva's a really good starting place. And that is it. Yeah, we got no more slides there. Sorry. I realized I edited this and actually cut the old slides out where we ask people to commit to an action, which we don't really do now anymore. So that's it. Hopefully that was useful in terms of understanding a bit more about putting some kind of strategy for blog content together. Claire, do you have any comments on that? Anything where, because I know you do our blogging, so you sort of manage the social media aspect and the blogging side. And I know one of the things you do for us is actually going and finding interesting marketing articles and then actually quoting them on the website. Is that a useful process to you? Do you find that as a good way to actually add variety to our blog?
Yes, no, definitely. I think it's important actually to sort of take the time to read what other people are writing and sharing, because otherwise we're so busy in our own bubble that we don't really sort of take the time out to sort of see what else is being said and what's current and what we should be aware of. So yes, it's been useful on that side of things, and then being able to kind of glean useful nuggets and kind of maybe riding on the sort of the tailcoat of that by sharing that within your own site is quite helpful as well.
It is, and actually some of the articles you come up with are good, because I haven't seen them, because I've obviously got my little bubble that I live in, and you've got yours, and it's not nice actually to see the different articles that I might have missed. It's also, you're definitely right, it's a good way of learning much more about the topic area. We might know about a particular area, you might be a subject matter expert, but it's always good to see what other people are reading and writing about their area to find out what you might be missing.
Yeah, and I think it's always important to see what other people are writing about, to see whether you're current and keeping up on with the topics and capturing the audience in different ways.
Yeah, I think blogging has changed. I mean, there's an expectation certainly for blogs to be on a website and how they work, but I think people should have them and use them for a purpose, because otherwise they'll end up wanting the blog on there because that's what they feel they should have, but then tripping themselves up because they don't actually have time to write anything on there. And it's almost worse. It's almost better that you don't have a blog on there and you just have good, well-focused content on your pages.
Yes, and I think the thing that we sort of can't stress enough is how they sort of link and sort of interact with each other. So having your cornerstone articles or an ultimate guide that sort of links out to all your pages and relevant other content that you have within your blog. I think that's something that we don't appreciate the value of from sort of search engine optimization and sort of capturing your audience and keeping them within your site longer by giving them the spider web of relevant information.
Well, and it's also more useful for them. If we think about linking between blog articles as being helpful to the reader, if you're interested in this, then actually this might be another article that you might be interested in. Yes, it keeps them on our site longer. Yes, it might eventually wind them down the funnel so they might buy from us. But if we're thinking about what they would want and providing them with lots of information, linking is a very valuable and useful thing for them. So yeah, absolutely, links are key. Lovely. Thank you very much, Claire. It was actually nice to review that one again, because I know there are a few tweaks and changes and a few maybe different opinions that I've got nowadays. So it's good to bring that up to date. But it's time we finish. So let's sign off. We are here every single Friday at 10 a.m. We can have everything in marketing, from strategy, social, SEO, video, and more. Claire will keep you updated with the schedule. She'll send that out every month and then let you know each week who we're going to be hearing from and what topic. We've got some exciting things this month. Just check Basecamp to find out. If you have something exciting that you want to share and talk about and come on the club, then do let us know. Email support@ratherinventive.com. If you can't watch it live, feel free to share the link with a friend. Just go ahead and share it. If you want to copy us into that email, then please do. Then Claire can welcome them when they come on. Again, support@ratherinventive.com. And don't forget, you can catch up with all our previous webinars on Basecamp. Now, I'm going to say they are also on our website now. However, the website has only just been launched this week, and we haven't moved all the club members over. But over the next coming weeks, maybe month, we'll have moved everyone over, and you'll be able to access everything that was on Basecamp directly on our website and use the funky filtering that we've got to actually narrow down the topics that you're interested in. So look out for that. But for now, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you all next week. Bye-bye.